I'll destroy you. Speak again and see what happens. The words exploded from my throat before fear could stop them. The entire restaurant went silent. Every champagne glass froze midair. Every laugh died. Every head turned. And the man standing over me, the man whose fist had just connected with my face, the man whose cold eyes had been terrorizing every staff member in this place for the past 2 hours, just stared at me. His name was Gabriel Bastoni. I didn't know that then. All I knew was that he was violent, entitled, and had just crossed a line that turned my exhaustion into something far more dangerous than fear.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before I tell you how a bruised waitress threatened a mafia boss in front of a room full of witnesses and somehow not only survived but destroyed him, let me ask you something. Have you ever been pushed so far, hurt so badly that something inside you doesn't break? It transforms. Not into sadness, but into fury. The kind of rage that makes you realize your life can't possibly get worse, so you might as well burn it all down fighting. That's where I was that night. That's the moment everything changed.
Do me a favor right now. Hit that like button so I know you're with me on this journey. And subscribe to the channel because, trust me, you're gonna want to see how this ends. And here's what I really want to know. Drop a comment telling me what country are you watching from? What city? What time is it there right now? Are you at home, on your lunch break, hiding in your car for a moment of peace? I love knowing that we're all connected across the world through these stories. So tell me where you are, and let's get into this together. That night, I'd been awake for 18 hours. My feet ached. My back screamed. But that morning, Lucy had smiled at me, really smiled, and told me she dreamed about us going to the beach someday. We'd never been to the beach, couldn't afford it. But that smile kept me moving through the breakfast shift, the afternoon at the hospital, and back for the dinner rush. I'd covered the fresh bruises on my arms with makeup. Another accident, another stumble, another lie I told myself about how I was managing just fine. Gabriel Bastoni's party of 6 arrived at 8 o'clock. I knew something was wrong the moment they walked in. The way the other diners tensed, the way Miller, my manager, went pale, the way the entire energy of the room shifted toward fear. Gabriel took the center seat like a king claiming his throne, and the others arranged themselves around him like subjects awaiting orders. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent. Dark hair slicked back, eyes like frozen steel. For 2 hours, I endured. His raised voice when the appetizers took too long, the napkin thrown at my coworker Sarah when she forgot his water preference, his hand lingering too long on my lower back when I leaned to pour wine. The way his sister, Bianca, watched everything with cold calculation, like she was assessing which of us would break first. Then came the wine incident. I brought the Bordeaux, what the kitchen had given me. Gabriel's hand slammed on the table hard enough to rattle every glass. I ordered Burgundy. His voice was quiet, deadly. I opened my mouth to explain, but he was already standing, towering over me. His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, fingers digging in hard enough that I knew there'd be bruises tomorrow. Do you know who I am? The restaurant had gone silent. Every diner looking away, Miller frozen by the kitchen door, my coworkers stepping back, making themselves small. And something in me, something that had been bending for years under the weight of survival, finally reached its breaking point. Gabriel's other hand came up fast. The backhand caught me across the face, snapping my head to the side. Pain exploded through my cheek. I tasted blood. The room spun. But I didn't fall. I stood there, feeling the heat spread across my face, and something shifted inside me. Not broke, transformed. I turned back to face him, looking up at this man who thought violence made him powerful, and I spoke in a voice I didn't recognize as my own. "I'll destroy you. Speak again and see what happens."
The words hung in the air like a bomb. Gabriel's eyes widened, shock first, then something darker, dangerous amusement. Bianca leaned forward, interested now. Miller rushed over, panic written across his face, trying to salvage the situation. Gabriel dropped his business card on the table, along with several $100 bills, never taking his eyes off me. After they left, Miller pulled me into the back office, his hands shaking. "Nora, do you have any idea what you just did? That was Gabriel Bastoni. He's not just dangerous, Nora. He's the danger." The next morning, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The bruise on my cheek had bloomed overnight into deep purple and yellow. I'd thought about filing a police report, spent 20 minutes with the phone in my hand before setting it down. Who was I kidding? A waitress accusing Gabriel Bastoni of assault? I'd be laughed out of the station if I even made it that far. The hospital called at noon. Lucy's condition had deteriorated overnight. They needed to move the surgery up. The cost had increased, $120,000 additional for the accelerated timeline and specialized equipment. The doctor's voice was apologetic but firm. Without the surgery in the next 3 weeks, Lucy wouldn't make it to see her 7th birthday. I made it to the restaurant bathroom before I fell apart, collapsed on the tile floor, hands shaking, unable to breathe. The numbers kept spinning through my head. $120,000. 3 weeks. Impossible. Completely impossible. Miller found me there, helped me to my feet, told me to go home. I couldn't even argue. The car arrived at my apartment an hour later, sleek, black, expensive. A man in a dark suit stood beside it, his expression flat and professional. "Ms. Jackson, Mr. Bastoni requests your presence." His voice was cold, efficient. "It's not optional." Terror flooded through me. This was it. Retribution for last night. But underneath the fear was something else, a strange resignation. What more could he do to me? My daughter was dying. I was drowning in debt. My face was already bruised. I got in the car. The driver, Gabe, he said his name was, took me to the Monarch, the most exclusive private club in the city, the kind of place I'd only seen in magazines. He led me through corridors lined with dark wood and expensive art, to a private room where Gabriel waited. He wore a different suit, equally expensive, and his demeanor was controlled, calm, no apology in his eyes for what he'd done. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. "I haven't decided which." I sat, my heart pounding. He slid a folder across the table. Inside were photographs, documents, my entire life laid bare, Lucy's medical records, every hospital bill, my father's abandonment documented in court records, my bank statements showing exactly how broke I was. "I know everything about you, Nora." He pulled out an envelope, "which is why I'm making you an offer. Director of Operations for Bastoni Holdings, $180,000 annual salary, premium health coverage with no caps, no exclusions." The numbers blurred in front of my eyes. "I own the debt collection agency that bought your medical bills," Gabriel continued, his voice matter of fact. "You already owe me $87,000. You're already mine, Nora. I'm just making it official and profitable for both of us." My hands trembled as I held the contract. "Why?" "You stood up to me. Nobody does that." Something flickered in his eyes. "I need someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. Someone with spine." I read through the contract. Comprehensive, binding, non-compete clauses, NDAs, and buried in Section 12, personal services as required by employer. The words made my stomach turn. "Sign it and Lucy gets her surgery. Everything taken care of." He leaned forward. "Or walk away and watch her die while you drown in debt you'll never escape." It wasn't a choice, not really. I picked up the pen, my hand shaking, and signed my name. The moment the ink dried, I understood what I'd done. I hadn't just sold my labor, I'd sold my soul. The transformation happened overnight. Hospital Administrator Holloway, who'd barely acknowledged my existence for 6 years, personally escorted me to his office, obsequious, apologetic. All of Lucy's bills had been handled. She was being moved immediately to the specialist wing, private room, best care available. He kept calling me Miss Jackson like I was someone important. Lucy's face lit up when she saw the new room. "Mama, it's like a hotel!" She hugged me tight, and I felt my heart breaking even as I smiled. She thought this was a miracle. She didn't know the price I'd paid. She didn't know what I'd become. Bastoni Holdings operated out of a gleaming tower downtown. My office was on the top floor, glass walls on 3 sides, giving me a panoramic view of the city. It should have felt powerful. Instead, I felt exposed, watched. Gabriel's office was directly across from mine, and I could feel his eyes on me constantly. The operation was massive: luxury hotels, private clubs, import and export businesses. On paper, everything looked legitimate. I met the team that first day. Milton, the accountant who couldn't meet my eyes, his hands perpetually shaking. Various managers who deferred to Gabriel absolutely, speaking only when spoken to, their fear palpable. My responsibilities seemed straightforward: manage the legitimate front operations, book high-profile events, coordinate with vendors, professional work, clean work. But every Friday, Gabriel required private briefings, just the 2 of us in his office after everyone else had gone home. The discussions would start professionally: numbers, logistics, scheduling, but they always drifted somewhere else. Personal questions, his hand on my shoulder, standing too close when reviewing documents. The gestures started small. The premium health insurance card arrived before my official start date. Lucy's specialist called me personally to discuss her treatment plan, mentioning that Mr. Bastoni had specifically requested I handle her case. Fresh flowers appeared in my office every morning, white roses, Gabriel's signature. Then Bianca cornered me in the parking garage. "My brother collects broken things," she said, her voice like ice. "He thinks he's fixing you. Really, he's just finding new ways to break you. Remember that." There were entire floors I couldn't access, meetings I wasn't invited to, Gabe's silent presence everywhere, watching, reporting back. I'd catch glimpses of men in expensive suits discussing things in low voices, conversations that stopped the moment I appeared. The first real sign came when I stayed late one night. Gabriel's office door was cracked open. I heard him on the phone. "The shipment arrives Tuesday. Tell the Colombian contact we're ready. The hotel provides perfect cover." The private event a week later confirmed everything. I was hosting, managing logistics for Gabriel's business associates. But these weren't businessmen. They were criminals. I could see it in their eyes, hear it in their coded conversations about territory and product and eliminating competition. The gifts escalated. Designer clothes appeared in my office with notes, "Appropriate for your position." Jewelry in velvet boxes, representing the company. And then the roses arrived at Lucy's hospital room. White roses with a card in Gabriel's handwriting. "Get well soon, Uncle Gabriel." He was inserting himself into my daughter's life, making himself indispensable, inescapable. Late one night, trying to access quarterly reports, I stumbled across encrypted files on the shared server: operations, logistics, shipments. The file names were innocuous, but the encryption was military grade. I clicked on one that had been left partially unlocked. The truth hit me like a physical blow. The hotels, the restaurants, the clubs, they were all fronts, every single one of them. My 3-month performance review wasn't in the office. Gabriel insisted on his penthouse apartment instead. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A private chef preparing an elaborate meal. Champagne in crystal glasses. Everything designed to feel intimate, romantic, dangerous. Gabriel was charming that night in a way I hadn't seen before. He praised my intelligence, my efficiency, how I'd streamlined operations and saved the company hundreds of thousands. "You've exceeded every expectation, Nora. You're not just an employee, you're essential."
He leaned forward, his eyes intense. You challenged me that night at the restaurant. Do you know how rare that is? How valuable? I should have stayed silent, but the champagne and the exhaustion made me brave. What exactly does Bestoni Holdings import and export? His smile never wavered. Luxury goods, high-end merchandise for exclusive clients, completely legal. He stood, closing the distance between us. His hand came up to my face, fingers tracing near the faded bruise he'd caused. I want you to understand, I protect what's mine, and you're mine now. I recoiled instinctively. His expression flashed with anger before he controlled it, stepping back with calculated patience. Part of me wanted to believe his lies, desperately needed the illusion of safety, but my body knew better. The next morning, I arrived at the office early, trying to catch up on work I'd missed. I heard voices from the supply closet near Milton's office. The door was slightly ajar. I froze, recognizing Milton's panicked voice on the phone. We're moving $5 million in arms deals due the hotel booking systems. The Jackson woman's reports are too clean. She's documenting everything. If the feds see her work, they'll know exactly what we're hiding. My blood went cold. We're using her legitimacy to launder the weapons trafficking profits, Milton continued. Bianca says we should eliminate her after the next shipment clears. Eliminate her. Eliminate me. I wasn't just complicit, I was a targeted loose end. Milton ended the call and rushed out, not seeing me pressed against the wall. I waited until his footsteps faded, then slipped into his office. His password was written on a sticky note on his desk, the same amateur mistake that gave me access to everything. The files were devastating. Detailed records of illegal arms sales, extortion, protection rackets, and my own payment records traced back to shell corporations funded by collections from local businesses. Extortion money. My salary was paid in blood. Then I found Lucy's surgery deposit, $80,000 marked as loss recovery from restaurant district accounts. I clicked through the source documents. Extortion proceeds. My daughter's life had been saved with money stolen through violence and fear. I kept digging. Venture Capital Holdings, the debt collection agency that owned my bills, was a Bestoni shell company. He'd owned me before I ever signed that contract. The entire thing had been a trap from the beginning. I couldn't report him without implicating myself. I couldn't leave without losing Lucy's care. I was completely, utterly trapped. Working late, Nora? That's dedication. Gabriel's voice from the doorway made me jump. I closed the files quickly, but not quickly enough. His eyes scanned the screen, then found mine. He knew. He knew that I knew. You should go home, get some rest. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Big day tomorrow. I gathered my things with trembling hands and left, feeling his gaze follow me the entire way. I wasn't just his accomplice. I wasn't just his shield. I was his target, and the countdown to my elimination had already begun. I requested a meeting with Gabriel the next morning. When I arrived at his office, Bianca was already there. That should have been my first warning. She sat in the corner like a vulture, watching with cold satisfaction. I can't continue in this position, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to step back for personal reasons. Gabriel's expression didn't change. He slid a document across his desk. Your contract has a 5-year term. Section 12 outlines early termination penalties. The numbers swam before my eyes. $500,000 for contract breach, plus return of all benefits received, Lucy's medical bills totaling $167,000. You'll owe me $667,000, Nora. How do you plan to pay that? Bianca leaned forward, her smile poisonous. We could arrange a payment plan, different kinds of services. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Desperation made me stupid. I'll go to the police about the arms trafficking, all of it. Gabriel laughed, actually laughed. Go ahead. He pulls up files on his computer, turning the screen toward me. Your fingerprints are on every document. Your reports provided cover. Your signature approved the transactions. You'll be arrested as an accomplice. Lucy will go into foster care. He leaned back, and I'll walk free within 48 hours. Document after document. My signature, my initials, my authorization. I'd signed them all unknowingly, trusting they were legitimate business operations. I tried finding other jobs. Every application was rejected within hours. Then Miller called, his voice shaking. Gabriel's people visited. They said if I give you a reference, they'll burn down my home with my family inside. He was crying. I'm sorry, Nora. I can't help you. Nurse Rode caught me at the hospital, pulling me aside urgently. Strange men have been asking about Lucy's care schedule, your visiting patterns. Be careful. The eviction notice came the next day. Venture Capital Holdings owned my building. Immediate lease termination for tenant violations. I had 72 hours to vacate. When I tried to see Lucy that evening, private security blocked the hospital entrance. Gabriel's men. Holloway appeared, his earlier obsequiousness replaced with cold dismissal. Ms. Jackson, Mr. Bastoni had assumed guardianship of Lucy's care pending resolution of your contractual obligations. He showed me the papers, legal guardianship documents claiming I was unstable, unable to provide care, forged signatures, fabricated psychiatric evaluations, all perfectly legal looking. Job gone, home gone, access to my daughter gone. Gabe found me in the parking lot. Mr. Bastoni wants to see you. Come alone or we visit Lucy's hospital room with different intentions. The warehouse was in the industrial district. Gabriel waited with 3 of his enforcers. He didn't speak, just nodded. 2 men grabbed me, slamming me against the wall. Gabriel's hand closed around my throat. You think you can defy me? You think you can leave? His voice was eerily calm. You're nothing. You're nobody. The only reason you exist is because I allow it. He stepped back and nodded again. The beating wasn't from him. He just watched. His men were efficient, professional, teaching a lesson. They left me bleeding in the alley, with Gabriel's final words echoing, "Next time, it's Lucy." I made it to a women's shelter somehow, stood in front of the bathroom mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. Bruises covered my face, split lip, dead eyes, broken. I was no longer a person, I was a possession, and possessed things don't have rights, they have owners. I had become exactly what I'd always feared, completely powerless. I know this story is intense. I know it's hard to hear about someone being
The woman who
trapped
ran
like
the
this,
shelter was
but
named
here's the
Sarah
thing.
Reeves.
It gets
Former
worse before
FBI
it gets better.
agent. She told
And
me over
then it
coffee
gets
in the
so
cramped
much
common
better.
room.
If you're
She'd
still
left
with
the
me,
bureau
if
5
you're
years ago.
invested in
When she
seeing
looked
Nora
at my
rise
bruises,
from the
something
ashes,
shifted in
hit
her
that like
expression.
button right now.
Recognition.
And if you know someone
Gabriel
who needs to hear a
Bastoni,
story
she
about a
said.
survivor
Not a question,
who
a
fought back
statement.
and won,
I
share this
froze.
video with them.
How did you?
Sometimes
I
people need to see that
investigated him for
escape
3
is
years.
possible,
Never
that
could make charges
transformation is
stick.
real.
She sat down across
Subscribe
from
if you
me.
haven't already,
He targets
because I've got
vulnerable
more
women,
stories like this.
traps them in his
Stories about
operations,
ordinary
makes
people
them
defeating
complicit, then
extraordinary
controls
evil.
them through their
And these
children.
stories matter.
You're not the first,
Your
Nora,
engagement
but you
matters.
might be the last.
So smash that subscribe
I
button
can't fight
and let's
him.
keep
He
building this
owns
community of
everything.
survivors
He has
and
my daughter.
supporters.
Sarah leaned forward. But you have something the others didn't. Documentation. You're meticulous. I've seen your work. You created detailed records of his entire operation without even knowing it. The choice crystallized in that moment. Stay broken or weaponize my pain. I run a security consulting firm now, Sarah continued. Phoenix Security. We help corporations identify vulnerabilities. Coincidentally, that makes us very good at documenting criminal operations. She slid a business card across the table. Join me.
not to confront Gabriel directly, to systematically dismantle his empire piece by piece. The plan was methodical: build a federal case for racketeering, arms trafficking, extortion. Nora the investigator instead of Nora the victim. I still had access to Bastoni Holdings' systems. Gabriel's arrogance meant he hadn't changed my codes. For 3 months, I worked in secret, cross-referencing public records with his shell corporations, connecting luxury hotel bookings to known arms dealers, documenting protection payments from local businesses, photography of his associates meeting with criminals. Sarah arranged self-defense training, therapy for the trauma. My body healed. More importantly, my mind sharpened. I realized my strength wasn't in fighting like Gabriel. It was in strategy, intelligence, patience. Phoenix Security took on legitimate consulting contracts. Every dollar I earned was clean, saved toward hiring a lawyer for Lucy's custody case. For the first time in my life, I was building something real. The breakthrough came when Milton reached out through an encrypted message. He wanted out. We met in secret, and he gave me everything: encrypted files with complete financial records. Gabriel's planning something big: weapons deal with international buyers, 3 weeks from now at the charity gala. The gala, Gabriel's highest-profile public event. Politicians, celebrities, legitimate business people, the perfect place to catch him. Sarah had federal contacts who had been trying to nail Gabriel for years. We had 3 weeks to set the perfect trap using my insider knowledge. The custody lawyer worked fast, an emergency hearing scheduled, using evidence of Gabriel's criminal connections and the forged guardianship documents. 2 weeks later, Lucy was returned to my care. We reunited in a safe house, both of us crying. "Mama, why did Uncle Gabriel take you away?" Her innocent question broke my heart. I held her tight. "I'm making sure he can never take anyone away again." Phoenix Security was growing. We were helping other women escape situations like mine. Every case we took, every woman we saved, added to my purpose. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw someone different. Not the broken waitress, not the terrified victim. Someone harder, sharper, dangerous in ways Gabriel would never understand. The
I
charity
wasn't his
gala
victim
was
anymore.
Gabriel's masterpiece
I was
of
his
hypocrisy.
reckoning.
An annual event benefiting children's hospitals, of all things. 800 guests, the city's elite, politicians, business leaders, media cameras everywhere. Gabriel positioning himself as a philanthropist while running weapons through the back channels of his empire. Phoenix Security had been contracted by the venue for a comprehensive security assessment. Sarah's connections made it happen. My presence was completely legitimate, just another security consultant doing a walkthrough. What Gabriel didn't know was that federal agents were scattered throughout the crowd, dressed as guests, waiting for my signal. I knew exactly where Gabriel would hold his private meeting, the East Wing conference room, soundproofed and secure. During our security assessment, we'd planted audio and video equipment in every corner. Milton had his instructions: deliver the international buyers at precisely 9:30. 3 weeks of preparation, every detail calculated, every contingency planned. I arrived in professional attire, tailored suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup that didn't quite hide the faded scar on my cheek. The transformation was visual. I wasn't the terrified waitress anymore. I was composed, professional, dangerous. Gabriel arrived fashionably late, tuxedo perfectly fitted, surrounded by his usual associates, Bianca at his side in a blood-red dress. I watched from across the ballroom as he worked the room, shaking hands, accepting compliments, playing the role of legitimate businessman. Then his eyes found me. The shock was genuine, surprise mixed with rage that he quickly tried to mask. He cut through the crowd, heading straight for me. Witnesses everywhere, cameras. He couldn't do anything here, and we both knew it. "What the hell are you doing here?" His voice was low, controlled fury. I met his gaze calmly. "I'm working. Phoenix Security is handling safety protocols for the venue." He stepped closer, invading my space, his voice dropping to a threatening whisper. You should have stayed disappeared. This is a mistake you won't survive. I didn't flinch, didn't step back. The only mistake was thinking I'd stay broken. Bianca appeared at his elbow, her hand on his arm. Gabriel, not here. Too many cameras. Her eyes found mine, and I saw something new there. Uncertainty. Gabriel's jaw tightened. He glanced at his watch, then forced a smile for the crowd. "Excuse me, I have some business to attend to." He straightened his tie and walked toward the east wing, Bianca following. I watched him disappear down the corridor, touched my earpiece. Target is moving. Through the hidden camera feed on my phone, I watched Gabriel enter the conference room. 3 men in expensive suits waited, the international buyers. Milton stood nervously by the door. Gabriel didn't suspect anything. Why would he? In his mind, I was still the broken woman he'd destroyed. The negotiation began. Weapons specifications, quantities, payment terms. Every word captured in crystal clear audio and video. Gabriel's arrogance was his downfall. He never imagined I could rise from the ashes he'd left me in, never thought the powerless waitress could become his destruction. I signaled again. Federal agents moved swiftly through the corridor, surrounded the conference room. The lead agent's voice carried through the door. "Gabriel Bastoni, you're under arrest." Federal agents burst through the conference room door with tactical precision. Gabriel spun toward the exit, but agents blocked every escape route. His hands were pulled behind his back, cuffs clicking into place as they read him his rights. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent ballroom as they let him out. Media cameras captured everything. Reporters rushed forward, live streams broadcast to thousands. The city's most prominent philanthropist dragged through his own charity gala in handcuffs, his carefully constructed facade crumbling in real time. The lead agent held up a USB drive. Complete financial records, audio and video of tonight's weapons transaction, and testimony from your accountant who's been cooperating for weeks. Milton had flipped, given them everything in exchange for immunity. Gabriel's eyes found me as agents led him through the ballroom. Rage, disbelief, pure hatred. I stood straight, shoulders back, and spoke loud enough for him to hear. "You taught me an important lesson, Gabriel. The most dangerous person isn't the one with power. It's the one with absolutely nothing left to lose." He lunged toward me. Agents restrained him instantly. "You're dead. You hear me? You're fucking dead." I didn't flinch. "No, I'm finally alive, and you're finished." Bianca was arrested separately, implicated in the racketeering conspiracy. The shell corporations were traced and frozen. Bastoni Holdings' assets seized under RICO statutes. Gabriel's associates were arrested or fleeing. His empire collapsed in real time while cameras rolled. The headlines wrote themselves. Philanthropist revealed as arms trafficker. Mafia boss's house of cards collapses. I gave one interview, positioned as the whistleblower who risked everything. I'm here to represent every woman who was told she was powerless. We're not. Sarah stood beside me as Phoenix Security received national attention. Lucy watched from the safe house, calling me in tears. "Mama, you were so brave." The legal aftermath was swift. Gabriel faced 25+ years federal prison. Bianca took a plea deal, testifying against her brother. All forged documents were exposed and nullified. My custody was fully restored. The medical debts were declared fraudulent, proceeds from an illegal enterprise. The sentencing hearing came 3 months later. I gave a victim impact statement, standing at the podium while Gabriel sat in an orange jumpsuit, chains on his wrists. "You tried to break me. You tried to own me." I looked directly at him. But here's what you never understood. You can't possess someone who refuses to be owned. Every bruise you gave me made me stronger. Every threat taught me resilience. Every time you said I was nothing, you were really describing yourself. I paused, letting the words land. Because now, you're the one in a cage, and I'm the one walking free. The judge sentenced him to 28 years federal prison, no possibility of parole for 20 years. Gabriel's final look at me held something unexpected, defeat, and maybe something almost like respect. The judge's closing statement resonated through the courtroom. Mr. Bastoni, you preyed on the vulnerable and exploited their desperation, but you underestimated their strength. As I walked out of that courthouse, Lucy's hand in mine, I understood the truth completely. I was no longer his victim. I was his lesson. 3 months after Gabriel's sentencing, his empire was completely dismantled. Every shell corporation dissolved, properties auctioned, proceeds distributed to victims. His former associates were imprisoned or cooperating with authorities. Bianca was serving 8 years in a different facility. The federal task force was using my documentation as a model for similar cases nationwide. Phoenix Security Consulting had grown to 15 employees with a national reputation. We specialize in helping domestic violence survivors document abuse and providing corporate security audits. The media called me the waitress who brought down a mafia boss. I gave speaking engagements advocating for survivors' rights, showing them that documentation could be their weapon. Lucy had her surgery using clean funds from my legitimate business, full recovery. She was attending regular school now, thriving, making friends. We'd bought a home, purchased outright with honest income, in a safe neighborhood with a professional-grade security system. My expertise applied to protecting what mattered most. I understood now that strength isn't about never being hurt. It's about refusing to let the hurt define you. I continued therapy, processing trauma healthily, started teaching self-defense classes to other survivors, and I was dating Marcus, a defense attorney who'd helped with my case. Our relationship was built on respect, equality, genuine partnership. No power dynamics, no manipulation, just healthy love instead of toxic control. The physical scars were fading, but I acknowledged the emotional ones. I wear them as evidence that I survived what was meant to destroy me. Sarah became my co-partner in Phoenix Security. Our friendship deepened through shared mission. Miller had testified against Gabriel, received protection, and was managing his own restaurant now. Nurse Rode was still Lucy's nurse and had become a family friend. Milton was in witness protection, helping with other investigations, and Lucy, resilient, confident, knew her mother as a hero, not a victim. I returned to Bellamy's one afternoon, new ownership now, sat at the same table where Gabriel had struck me, full circle. "This is where I thought my life ended," I said to Lucy, who sat across from me, healthy and happy. "Really, it's where it began." I thought standing up to Gabriel was the bravest thing I'd ever do. I was wrong. The bravest thing was what came after, surviving, documenting, strategizing, fighting back methodically. He wanted me to be afraid. Instead, I became dangerous. Lucy laughed at something on her phone, eating dessert without a care in the world. This is what victory looks like. Not revenge, not violence, just peace. The system is broken. Abusers rely on victims staying silent, staying isolated, staying afraid. But silence can be strategy, isolation can be protection, and fear can be transformed into fuel. You're not weak because you were hurt. You're not complicit because you survived. You're gathering intelligence, biding time, preparing for the moment you can strike back. That's the story of how a bruised waitress destroyed a mafia boss, not with violence, not with luck, but with documentation, strategy, and refusing to accept the narrative he tried to force on me. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt trapped, if you've ever worn bruises you couldn't explain, if you've ever stayed when you should have run, know this: your survival is resistance, your documentation is ammunition, your escape is victory. Hit that like button if you believe survivors deserve justice. Subscribe for more stories about ordinary people defeating extraordinary evil. Comment below. What's the moment you decided to fight back? Stay strong, stay strategic, and remember, the most dangerous woman in the world is one who's already lost everything except her will to fight back. This is Nora Jackson signing off. The work continues.